Desh Ratanigam, fabulous work by the Delhi police. They need to be lauded. Of course, there was an FIR, and a lesson needs to be meted out, and an example needs to be made quick and fast that nobody dares do that again. That wasn't done in the case of Tripta Tyagi, Desh Ratanigam, and that's a question which many of us should ask today if we are in our right minds.
See, the fact is that both cases are similar, and FIRs should have been registered in the earlier case as well. There is no doubt about it, and Supreme Court's verdict is also quite clear. However, probably it appears it was not pursued by, nor in the case of Tripta, the parents of the child did not want to pursue it also. And at the same time, she was a differently abled, young person. Probably those could be the reason, but in my eyes, they are not the legal grounds not to register an FIR. In the present case, it has been done, so it should have been done in the previous case as well. Because as you rightly said, it should set an example. Law is for not only reformative, but preventive, and it should be a deterrent also for preventing future actions. And as Vikram Singh clearly pointed out, there appears to be some kind of discriminatory attitude in the two cases. And if you have to establish rule of law, the principle of equality as enshrined in the Constitution has to be followed. There cannot be any two ways about it. And once this happens, then you will not see such kind of cases, taking place even in the future or in the present. So therefore, these are the few things that have to be kept in mind, and police needs to be sensitized. If you recall, the police reforms in the police has to be brought in, not at the higher level, but at the lower level. The sensitization, the law, the awareness of the law. In number of cases we had seen even in the past where the Supreme Court has passed the law, but that those were not being followed at the lower level. So these are the things that one has to keep in mind, and those reforms, if you look at Prakash Singh's committee and everything, those reforms have to take place at the grassroots level. At the upper level, people are aware of it, but at the lower level, I believe a lot of sensitization and awareness of the law has to take place.
Tehseen, you want to make a point, and I'll go back to Mr. Vikram Singh after that. Go ahead, make your point.
No, the point is well taken that there must be sensitization of the police force at both the lower level and upper level, or whichever level. But look, this is a state where routinely those in constitutional posts, the highest constitutional posts, sort of make one section of community villains. In Uttar Pradesh was the famous remark of Shamshan Kabristan. This is the highest office of the country. You routinely have names of cities changed because they come across as representing a particular religion. So this is a state where bigotry to an extent is even encouraged by those in constitutional posts or elected representatives. What do you expect the police to do? The police are only following their masters. What sensitization? When you routinely have statements in parliament from the ruling party MP that's in government in Uttar Pradesh, calling another member of parliament all sorts of racial slurs which are associated with a religion, and no action is taken. So when you say that the lower level police officers need to be sensitized, they are only looking at what their superiors and those elected are doing. And therein is the problem. You cannot have hate and think hate will only be limited to our little electioneering. When you start a fire, when you start hate spreads like a wildfire. Look at what's happening in Manipur. The chief minister's tweets are deleted, but Manipur is still burning. The same chief minister who's spread hate with his tweets, yesterday's house was attacked. So there is a problem with hate, and unless we don't get down to stopping hate, you're going to see the spread from the top to the bottom.
Vikram Singh, I just want to ask you, because many right now will turn around, especially because hypocrisy when it comes down to hate is very rampant nowadays. There will be a lot which will stand in and say, great, Shaista is arrested, but the same will completely go mum when it comes down to what Tripta Tyagi did and why is she free. Not a question will be asked on that account. I want to ask you a very direct question, sir. The police in Uttar Pradesh Muzaffarnagar, how could they have taken immediate suo motu action and went in and arrested Tripta Tyagi?
Preeti, this question was asked to me in many debates, and I said it's very simple. Rule of law is very simple. 2 + 2 = 4. There is not much discretion. I give you a classic example. A dead body is found in a field. Do the police wait for the complainant to come up? No, they don't. They file a case suo motu immediately, and they themselves become the complainant. And this is the standard operating procedure. No discretion and no instructions are required from the higher ups. And when you look upon the higher-ups for instructions, well, you are failing in your duty. You know, bigotry, double standards, and inequality before law are just not acceptable. It takes a lifetime to build the credibility of a department, but one small such misdemeanor and it erodes the credibility and brings down ones to its knees. I do hope the police have learned their lessons and will not repeat and replicate the mistakes of Muzaffarnagar, because you have a job to perform and that job is sacred and sacrosanct. Please do not distinguish between one community and the other. Take pains to give the signal and do and walk your talk that all are, you belong to everyone and everyone belongs to you, equality before law.
Deshratan Nigam, you know, very often it's said that no action is better than selective action. Because then you're nothing but a hypocrite.
Preeti ji, in fact, you know what is happening today, that the hate speech is becoming a new norm in the society. And then we see a selective outrage on the issues. And if a particular, A community does it, there is more outrage. And if a B community does it, it is lesser outrage. We have to see all these incidents from the same lens so that at least a common action can be taken. Now, the selection of, outrage by certain section of politicians is something probably which is...
But Deshratan Nigam, sir, I'll interrupt you here. It's not politicians. It's all of us. It's you and I on most good days and bad.
No, yes, I'm talking the general, the outlook of our society that I'm talking about. And that society is now accepting that hate speech from whichever quarter it is coming. And it has become a kind of a norm. And certainly, what is a hate speech has not been very clearly defined. We need a law on the subject where it is clearly defined. There are few, judgments which talk about when the particular case comes, this is a hate speech, this is not a hate speech. So it has got to be codified. What is a hate speech? And then, kind of a concrete law can come defining in the IPC what is hate speech. Now it is all spread over. So we do require certain kind of revisit on this subject so that the people also understand what is a hate speech. There is a very thin line, you just cross it without realizing it. Some do realize, some don't realize. So therefore, as I said, we do require a deep thought on it. Maybe Law Commission can get into it and define it and recommend to the Government of India.
But Deshratan Nigam, I'll ask you a direct question. I'll bring in Tehseen as well. I understand, sir, you're making perfect points, and they sound really good. But instead of getting into the Law Commission and getting into what is this, there needs to be sensitization. Take action. What is stopping today the Yogi Adityanath government to crack down and take swift action? Tripta Tyagi should have been behind bars a month ago.
See, I told you that there could have been some reason because the family never wanted, and probably the police also got, slightly relaxed. And although under the law, they are under compulsion to take us home.
The Supreme Court has just said it, sir. They have slammed the Uttar Pradesh government for inaction on this case.
No, certainly. See, there is no doubt on that aspect. Me and you and I think everybody is on the same page so far as this is concerned. There is a dereliction of duty on the part of the police there in UP, and it should have been rectified. But probably because of the reason I said in my earlier part of my discussion, there could have been some, kind of leeway given that should not have been done. It should create an example, and it should at the same time, prevent such kind of incidents happening in the future.
Tehseen, you want to make a point? Come in, please.
For one, Preeti, one is either pregnant or not pregnant. You can't be half pregnant. So either you followed up with the law of the land or you haven't followed up with the law of the land. You cannot half follow up with the law of the land and for whatever reasons then not followed up with the law of the land. That's point number one. But point number two, to what Mr. Deshratan Nigam ji said about the hate speech. The hate speech case judgment of the Honorable Supreme Court is on my name. I would move Supreme Court and mob violence, and then the hate speech judgment came out. It's on my name. And the Honorable Supreme Court was very clear in its guidelines of what constitutes hate speech. After this, the Honorable Supreme Court asked me to go to the Home Secretary, and I went to the Home Secretary. We made the laws. Do you know what happened? The most respected Home Minister Amit Shah ji got up in Parliament and said, we don't need any such laws. So the Supreme Court judgment was taken for granted by none other than the Home Minister of India, Amit Shah ji. The question to ask is just two. who benefits from hate speech, which political party? And the answer is very clear, Bharatiya Janata Party. Point number 2, where you don't need a law commission. The Supreme Court has said what is hate speech.
Right.
It's gone tough on it. It's on my name. Why don't you form the laws and codify it? Why do you need the law commission to come in? And it is not, and it's common sense, Preeti. If you slap a child and bring in communal hate, that constitutes an offense. That requires no Supreme Court or Law Commission or Amit Shah ji or Yogi Adityanath ji intervention. That requires intervention by a beat level constable to pick up the police.